Alex, what up?
Corey. What's going on, buddy?
Hey, man. I just wanna start off with making sure I let you know. Thank you so much for doing this podcast. You're so welcome to be here. I'm so happy that you decided to, pay me with the currency of your effort for just a little while to hang with me here on the show.
I appreciate you having me on. I remember we were talking about a year and a half ago about coming on, and it just never happened. So it's good to finally be a guest on your podcast now.
Hey, and if we talk about it and that only a year and a half goes by before we actually do it, it's better than us talking about it and then it never happening. So it's
Exactly
way better late than never. Wanted to also, just let you know, aside from being very welcome that you're here, wanted to make you pretty aware that this isn't really a wrestling show. However, when I have guests on who are from wrestling, and I'm also a wrestler, it kind of becomes almost impossible to avoid.
Yeah.
So anybody listening who's expecting to talk about comedy, or we could do it. We could do that too, but it'll wind up going back to just wrestling probably at some point. Okay. So something I was worried. I know, like our combos that we had.
Mm-hmm.
How at that show? How long ago did you say that was? Like a year and a half ago? Like
yeah,
2
it
years?
had to be about a year and a half, 2 years ago. Yeah.
It was like, someone received it. Somebody received a tax refund and decided to spend it on a wrestling show. That show only happens around tax season every year. It's the only place where people get the money that they're asking for because the guy's got it. He got a tax refund, so he's giving you the money that he asked for.
You know what's funny is my friend Eddie was like, that was how he led into asking me to go, because I'd done a show earlier in that day. And I was just getting home. I was going to just turn in for the night. And he's like, hey, you want to go to a show? This dude got his tax money back and is paying everybody. I was like, I'll be there in 5 minutes.
Anyway, so we're having some pretty big chats about some damage that we have as kids and trauma that we hold on to, and try, for me at least, I don't want to speak for you, but letting that trauma go and becoming who is a better version of ourselves eventually.
Yeah.
Now, having us talking about some of that stuff, I mean, I'm not going to ask you to get into specifics, but what practices have you, what mental gymnastics go around letting go of that trauma? How do you cope with some of that? How do you, as a dude, just as a regular person?
Yeah. So, with me, I have such an addictive personality. So when I find something that I really like or enjoy to do, I just kind of throw myself into that.
Mm-hmm.
And professional wrestling has always been my coping mechanism since I was little. It was something where if I had a bad day, I could just throw on a Guerrero match or a Nick Bockwinkel match and just kind of lose myself in those matches. So when I was given the opportunity after high school to join wrestling, it kind of helped me find out who I am, and find out more about myself and, what I'm really capable of, and, bringing joy to other people watching wrestling, because that's how I found joy,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, I can relate. When did you get in? I mean, this is not really where I wanted this to go, but
yeah.
When did you get in?
I started training September 9th of 2013. Then I had my first match in February of 2014.
Okay. All right.
I'm still a baby.
Yeah, it's still pretty newsky.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I wanted to also ask you, and this is also, like I said, not where I really wanted to go right off the bat. I don't want it to be like every other show, because every other dude, honestly, I'm gonna tell you, I had to start doing this one because I hated doing episodes of people's podcasts and them asking me the same questions whilst not listening to the answers. Just go, when was your first match? Where'd you train? And it's like, you just do a Google search. You can find all that stuff. You don't have to ask me the same questions all the time. But what was it? The 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 beginning. You said 12, 13, right? How old were you when you first got in?
I was 18. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And this was like North Jersey, like BWO stuff.
East Coast Pro Wrestling in Parsippany.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I think I did a show maybe for them at one point.
Yeah.
Maybe one, because I think that's where I met. That's where I met Macintosh.
Yeah, that's where he started.
Yeah, and yeah. So that was a long time ago. I mean, when you say, "Oh, I'm still a baby," that's a lot of time to invest. I mean, you're still young, right? How old are you?
Yeah, I'm 25 now.
Okay, yeah. I mean,
I'll be 26
that's
in 19 days.
Okay, cool. Well, happy birthday in 19 days, and by the time you listen to the audio of this, your birthday will have come and gone. But man, I mean, 13, 14, 15. That's almost a decade, dude. That's almost a decade of being around.
Yeah.
I mean, you're still a baby, meaning like you're still a younger person. You're not old and beat up like this guy. Old beat up grizzled vet. Yeah. What are these tapings like? Have you been doing those? Have you been doing any of the tapings?
So I've wrestled 2 Synergy shows and a Violence and Suffering show. The Synergy shows have been pretty cool because we're following strict guidelines. Mm-hmm. So there's only a limited amount of people can buy tickets. They're taking temperatures of everyone that comes in. They have face masks for those who come without one, and they have hand sanitizing stations throughout the entire venue and stuff like that. And I also did an XWA show, which it's a smaller building, so there was even less fans there, but the same thing, they were sanitizing stations, masks, and everything. The Violence and Suffering show was a trip because it was supposed to happen in a friend of mine's backyard. Someone called the police on the show because of saying that they were ruining COVID restrictions. So they actually had to move to another venue in PA and started 2.5 hours late. And by the time they got the ring up, the ring ropes were missing bolts and stuff. So we had to do an entire show without any ring ropes.
Oh, man. It's the desperation of us to fill this damaged look at me hole that we've got in us.
It is such a look at me hole. It really is, man.
Yeah, it's like the amount of damage that we have and how desperate we are to be in the spotlight.
For a little bit of attention for 10 minutes.
Right. Validate me. I'm doing one no audience show, like just a little taping. I'm doing that September 19th or something like that. Okay. But yeah, it's the first time I've done. I went to one last Saturday or something like that, and it was not cool. It wasn't terrible.
It's got this like strange vibe to it because like we feed so much off the audience. Like they are such an integral part of what we do.
Right.
So when you take that away, it's so weird to try to feed off of anything.
Well, it was a taping, so that the way it was like cameras on the ring, the guys and girls in the locker room were behind the cameras going woo and clapping and cheering.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Like baby face, cheer for the baby face, boo the heels kind of thing. But it was just like,
I always feel like those type of shows, it feels like forced emotion because like the boys and girls in the locker room, they know what's supposed to happen. You know, they know when to boo and when to cheer. But when you got people that aren't smart to what we're doing, or people that have never been to a wrestling show, and we can make them feel that.
Right.
I feel like that's a more genuine reaction.
Some of the matches were good matches. Like there was good things happening on these matches. It's just like they're for the YouTube audience to have content to consume.
Yeah,
I get that.
Yeah.
I get that. It just maybe I've noticed that the quarantine hasn't been as good to a lot of the boys and gals' bodies as it has been to mine.
Yeah.
So I'm going like, you.
Yeah, I actually started like, so when I came back from Germany. I was in Germany for what was supposed to be a month of March, and everything got shut down like 2 weeks before I was supposed to finish. So I came back 2 weeks early, and I was like, all right, you know what? I'm gonna take this time. I'm gonna get in really good shape. And for like 3 weeks, I lost like 8-9 pounds. I was looking good, but then it's like doubt starts to creep in, and it's like, oh, when will this ever open up? Are we ever going to be able to do shows? And like, that depression, that look at me hole is not being filled. So I kind of like started letting myself go, and I got up near 230 again.
Oh,
so me, my partner Steve Off, and a friend of ours, Mike Donovan, who tags with us sometimes at Pro Wrestling Magic, was like, we were kind of feeling the same thing. We were putting on some weight, and not good weight. We're like, screw this. Like, we're not going to be a victim to this quarantine. So we all joined a strict diet regimen that with this guy, I think his name's like Lucas Downing or something like that. And I'm now under 220. I started out at 228, 227, and this morning I was 217. So in 4 weeks, I've lost 10 pounds already.
Great. That's great. We were just texting about that yesterday because I was telling you about how I got my physical.
Yeah.
And I told you like, 218 and a half, and you're like, me too.
Yeah, it's pretty much what I'm like 6 foot even at 218. So I'm I'm trying right now. I'm trying to get down to the 205 area and just shred out. But it's a slow process.
Well, goals, man. You got to just keep on shattering them.
Yeah.
So the name, and I'm sure you've had this conversation a million times, so forgive me. Maybe maybe unpack it a little bit more and like the reasons why. Maybe you've talked about this on other podcasts, but I don't listen to other people's podcasts.
Yeah,
sorry.
No, it's all good. But, I've actually never gone into depth on why.
Okay, but to me, you're Aaron, like forever. I'm probably gonna do that forever. But I'm gonna try to adapt. You know what I mean?
Everyone still calls me Aaron. It's you're not alone.
So if you can unbox it a little bit and just kind of make me understand it, I get it. I for sure get it.
Yeah.
But I want to get it more, and I want to get the perspective.
So when I first started in 2013. It was getting near a time where I was going to start doing shows, and I'm not very creative, to be honest, So everyone's like, oh, you need a name, you need a name, you need a name, you need a name. So I was like, all right, well, I started thinking, I was like, all right, well, I created this character on a WWE SmackDown versus Raw game. It was Superstar Aaron Bradley that I used. And like, it couldn't be any farther from who I was. But I was like, all right, well,
it's just a surrogate. That's somebody else, not you.
Yeah. So I was like, Superstar's not me. What is me? All right. I played a bunch of sports in high school. I was decent at those. And I was listening to a song and it said Game Changer in it. I was like, Game Changer. Game Changer Aaron Bradley. Okay, that's going to be me. Game Changer Aaron Bradley. And that was pretty much it. That I had nothing really going on that. Like to this day, that's 2013 or 2014 when I had my first match. I still can't tell you why I called myself Game Changer. And I couldn't figure out why I couldn't get the reactions I wanted until do you remember Mark House?
I know the name. I definitely know the name.
Upstate New York guy. He hasn't wrestled in about 3 or 4 years, but we were heading up to Canada, and he goes, "Do you mind on this road trip if I ask you some questions that are going to be tough to answer?" I said, "Yeah," because in my mind, growth is, growth is uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
You don't grow or get better if you're in your comfort zone all the time. You stay in the same place.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, you ask whatever you feel is, going to help me get to the next level. That
Mm-hmm.
way, maybe I can unlock some, doors in my mind and get the ball rolling. He goes, all right. And the first question he let in with was, would you pay $10 to see yourself wrestle? And I was like, wow. Like no one had, like, I never even thought of asking myself that. And this was 2016. So I'm about 2.5 years, 3 years in. I was like, huh. And the answer was no, because I was like, I still don't, get what I'm doing. He goes, why do you think that is? And I said, I feel like I'm trying to play a character that's not me, And he goes, all right, well, what are some things that made you who you are today? What makes you tick? What really, what makes you happy and what gets under your skin, type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I said, well, and like the talks we had where we talked about how I was homeless for a little bit, bullied all throughout high school and stuff like that, or not high school, middle school and elementary school. And then like I kind of overcame that. And at the time I was actually reading a book by Tim Grover called Relentless. And it talks about him overcoming adversity as an immigrant coming from India to America, and the things he had to do as a kid and the bullying he went through as a kid, and how he became Michael Jordan's personal trainer. Like he was so good at his job, Michael Jordan paid him extra to not train anyone else in the league, teammates included. That's how good this guy was.
Well,
so
he was a real game changer.
Yes. So I was like, huh, relentless. Well, I've survived everything so far. I've survived wrestling training and all that stuff, and I've gotten this far. Relentless, that's me, and it felt more natural. Relentless Aaron Bradley.
Mm-hmm.
So the start of 2017, I became Relentless Aaron Bradley, and I had my friends at GoPro, Mike Sesko. He designed this awesome vignette of me going around my hometown and like kind of rediscovering who I am and what made me that person,
Mm-hmm.
So there's like an iconic building, the Gingerbread Castle, and some bridges and stuff like that. We went over and he shot me like kind of just like looking around and like looking at the street, and the town that made me. So I was like, all right, this feels more natural. And I started to feel more like myself. Then as time goes on, you have to change and you have to kind of update things to, roll with the changes you make in your personal life.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt like I had taken Aaron Bradley as far as I could. I felt like there was a glass ceiling that I just needed one more change to really break it,
right.
So in August of last year, I did a tryout with Westside Extreme Wrestling down in CZW. Had them over, and Westside Extreme Wrestling's from Germany. I didn't get picked, but I got the contact info for the guy who runs it there.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, yeah, I want to come over, the whole month of March, blah, blah, blah. So I got that set up, and I was like, you know what? I need to start using my real name because I feel like there's a story I can tell that's much more interesting than the fake name or fake story I'm trying to tell now.
Right.
So I was like, I'm going to take the month of March to really transform into myself again. So I had Sesko do another promo explaining that, the name change and everything. It's on my YouTube page, real_Alex Reiman, new name, new aggression. Pretty much talking about how I felt like I was pretty much an animal in the cage, that I was just waiting for that door to open up. And I felt like changing my name helped open that door.
Okay.
So I had all these plans when I was coming back from Germany, and then the Rona shut everything down.
Yeah. So it's funny, man. It's funny because you're kind of walking me through your timeline, which is not a thing that like a lot of a lot of people like give you the time to do. Not a lot of time. A lot of time, like people are just like, all right, yeah, go ahead. Like, but I wanted to kind of unbox the psychology of it in your head, not just the story for the sake of having a story to tell to the boys. You know,
absolutely.
What I mean, but I had the same thing as like where I saw certain things that made me pick this part of my name, and like what made me kind of get there. Like the same with you. And I was like, oh, I was reading this book and the book said this. So that's what it was. The same sort of stuff. Like that's where we have this commonality. And I mean, it's something that it's see, I've never used my real name really. Like it's known, it's out there that my real name's not Corey Castle, but I had to start this show.
Gasp.
I use that name for everything. So I had, I've been marketing it for my entire life, and I'm not going to abandon it now. But for a while, I was considering just calling myself Cornelius Castle. Like that's it, and just kind of doing like a little bit of modified version of what I had been doing with the drum and the VR goggles.
Yeah.
But just kind of like being like a cult leader sort of character. And going back, I was gonna say I wouldn't. I have my real name like in parentheses on my Facebook page. It's like anybody really wants to know it, it's right there. But,
just click on the profile.
Right. But even though so, I have actor friends with me and my girlfriend have similar acting friends. All the acting friends know me as Corey, and I introduced myself to all them as Corey. But like. At home, in private life, I'm James. And home, my roommates call me Corey. My mom lives across the street. She calls me James. So my brother used to live here, and like when mail would come, be like, "Oh, who's this for?" Like, it's all confusing to a lot of people. But it's you live in a double life, and
you really do.
It's kind of cool. It's kind of cool that you took the stress off of yourself to kind of protect that. And for a really long time, it like bothered me if people would call me James in public. Like that used to be a thing where they're like, stop. Like,
I felt the same way too when I was using Aaron Bradley.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. It's like there's no one cares as much as you do.
Yeah.
Not a single person cares as much as you do.
Oh my God.
that's like the moral of existence. Not everyone cares as much as you do.
Pretty much, man. You're so spot on with that, man.
That's what I say about abs. Like I'm like, nobody else cares that you don't have them. Like you're the only one who cares that you don't have abs. Like it's more about you and what you want. Like, dude, get
that's
4
gratification.
Get a 4-pack. You don't need like what are you doing? You work at Sears, dude. Calm down. You don't need abs. I don't know if Sears is even a thing. Does anybody work at Sears anymore?
I don't know. I think the Rona shut them out too.
Yeah. So it's very much like I said about like everybody. Just because you have something that you feel someone can shame you for doesn't mean you should be ashamed of the thing. It doesn't mean you're any less worthy of unconditional love and forgiveness and support and understanding. Right or wrong, everybody who has an opinion, they want to be heard. They want to be seen. They want to be listened to. They want to be represented. Mm-hmm. I don't know why I added an extra did at the end of represented. But yeah, I mean, it's really it's such the message. Where did because honestly, and this is something I can only kind of talk to you about it because you'll get in wrestling in my generation, which was quite a bit before yours. If you were like a fan of wrestling and they called you a mark, it was something you weren't really allowed to be.
Yeah.
Like at all. It was like, oh, if you type something up about something that's marky, you're not on their level anymore, and you're just one of the fans. Like, so it was very limiting to you as like, it's like I would never show up at training with like a Triple H shirt on. Like that would get me like in trouble. I couldn't show up.
I actually got in on the tail end of that.
Okay.
Yeah.
But becoming a mark for the business, to me, I always thought like when you like are in a band, you don't stop liking other bands. You don't stop talking about other bands. You still consume music. I still consume wrestling. The only reason we're in wrestling is because we're marks. The biggest mark. No one cares as much as you think they do. It goes right back, cyclical. You're the only one who cares as much.
It's a vicious circle.
Right, because it'll take just somebody being like, "Yeah, Mark," like, "Nah, Mark," nah. Like, then your confidence for the rest of the day down the drain.
Rate the drain.
But the second they said it, the second they threw a jab at you, just because bring you down a notch to bring them up a notch, like that's just what our people have been doing for a long time. In the business, not saying me, but I'm saying within the business, that's what we've done for a long time. You know, bring the other guys down, humble them a little bit so that you bring yourself up a little bit more. That's just a part of it. But it's like the second somebody would say a thing, you'd eat it you all day. The second they said it, it left their mouth, they never thought about it again. Didn't care about it again. But you're beating yourself up and you're beating yourself up. Like I did a show at the Hamburg Fieldhouse a couple years ago.
Oh, and yes, that's a nice place.
Yeah, it is. And Chio Valentine, you probably don't know him, but
I know.
You know Chio? You know, he's a heavier guy. Right? He's a heavier guy. And he came up to me and he was like, "Oh man, you're getting a little fat there." He said that to me. He's fat. He's a fat guy. And he said that I was getting fat and it beat me up for months. Like I didn't stop thinking about it. It kept me from sleeping. The second he said it, he felt better about how fat he was. And it didn't bother him at all. But for me, like for months, I held on to that. And I was like,
it's so strange how like people need that gratification of bringing someone down for that moment, because as you said, they say it and they get that self gratification for a second and then they go on with their life. Like it doesn't bother them, 30 minutes from then, but like it just eats at you.
Ever widening circles of throwing a pebble into the water.
Yep.
That's what all of everyone's actions all the time are. Like any word you say, any look you give, like any noise you make, it's something to like kind of be aware of, to absolutely be aware of all the time. You have to make sure, and that kind of makes it weird in like a very tippy-toe society that we've got to kind of be in. Like something you can absolutely get away with making that joke with one person. You can't make any kind of joke like that with another person. Yeah. So it's strange to get misconstrued and be out of context, but it has to. It's. Where was I going with that? Nah. Maybe I was just on a rant. Something's wrong with me.
Something's wrong with all of us. That's why we got in this business.
Yeah.
No sane person goes, "Hey, let me take a bump."
Well, honestly, man, my old do you know Denmark?
I don't think I do.
We were in TNE together. Denmark had sons, and he said, "I'm going to teach my sons how to play the bass guitar, and they could be in a cover band and they'll get more respect than we ever did in wrestling. They're going to stay very far away from wrestling. They'll get paid. People will like them and respect them. In here, they'll go, don't you know that thing's fake? There's a lot of, like, and JR will talk about it. He calls it fat shaming of wrestling fans.
Yes.
I take a lot of pride in it. I take a lot of pride in being a wrestling fan. And I, for a while, was a little angry at the business. And I'd say, man, I've given my whole life to it. I've loved it with all my heart. And it's never loved me back. Like, that was the kind of the vicious thought process I was having for a while. But I was like, it has loved me back this whole time. It hasn't paid me well. It hasn't fed me well. I've done a lot of stuff for nothing. We'll probably continue to do a lot of stuff for nothing, but it's really like, it's really about the food for my soul, the chicken soup for my soul that is filling that look at me hole. You know?
Yeah.
That Corey Castle in the ring, like, it's the presentation. It's more than just me as being a wrestler. It's the entire part of it. So not just that. When I say it hasn't loved me back, it really has, because everybody, not everybody, but a good amount of the people that I know and love, I've met through wrestling. A lot of the lessons that I've learned, that's a huge one. A lot of the lessons I've learned, good and bad, have been through the life experience that I've gotten since 2002 to now, traveling and doing different shows all over the place and meeting all different kinds of people and manipulating the audiences, like you were saying, like making them feel things. And that's something that's like a muscle that I've got. And that's like a callous.
There's no other like high in this life than being able to make an audience like do what you want them to, cheer, boo, laugh, cry, to be able to elicit real emotion out of somebody. That's such a strong power we have.
Yeah. It's like, I look at the perspective of it, because I know most people go their entire lives avoiding ever like getting punched in the face. So they don't know what that feels like. Most people don't know what it's like to touch a ring. Most people don't know what it's like to do the kind of things that we do, because we're kind of like a different breed of people. You know what I mean? A different breed of people. There's absolutely no way you can understand what it feels like to be in here and do what if I talk about it to my comedian friends, I'll say, I look at it as much of a craft as comedy. You know what I'm saying? Like when it comes
to
like
art, it really is.
I'm gonna craft this joke. I'm gonna come up with this great premise. I'm gonna have a couple examples. I'm gonna have some acts out. You know what I mean? It's just like that, where it's like, well, I'm gonna throw in that corkscrew there. I'm gonna do that fisherman. Like, all of it is like winding up, adding to what your repertoire is. So just like it's just like being a musician. It's just like being in a band. You know what I mean? But it's like, once again, they get more respect than us.
You know, what's funny is like, I was at a party, had to be 2 or 3 years back, and I saw a friend of mine from high school, and he's got a band. His name's Eric Kilty. His band's called Losing Streak.
Oh, cut that part out. I'm gonna cut that part out. I'm gonna cut that part. No, I'm kidding. Go ahead. Don't put your friend's band from high school over. Shit, I don't care. I'm cutting that part out.
And just listening, like him and his drummer were there.
What was his name?
Eric Kilty, and the drummer, I think at the time.
No, cut that part out. Cut that. Okay, we're gonna cut that part out. Go ahead.
And so they were there, and I don't do parties well. I was there because I was DDing for somebody, and I saw him there. I was like, "Hey, man, what's going on?"
You were Dunkin' Donutsing for someone?
Yeah, dunking their donuts. and feeding them. And then so him and his drummer were like kind of like coming up with new ideas, new concepts, for their upcoming songs. And it was cool because it was kind of like watching someone call a wrestling match. It's like, okay, we'll lead in with this harmony here, and then we'll add the chorus in here, the vocal. It was like so cool. Like, I don't understand music that much, but like to see them break down a song they were crafting piece by piece by piece was such a cool experience. And I'll never forget it because it was just like watching someone, create their art as I would in the locker room if you and I were about to have a match.
Do you know Chuck Payne?
Who?
Chuck Payne.
I met him a couple times at when I would go to Capitol to see Sonny wrestle.
Okay.
But other than high and by now.
I think might have been his first match. He was talking to me about stuff in the locker room before we ever had the match. And I was like, like a song that you memorize? And you're like, oh, this part's going to be what the first verse is, and this is going to be the second verse. And I'm like, that might have just changed his whole style. Like,
yeah,
that might have changed everything. And I was just like, that was just me throwing things out. I'm like, well, I guess you just got to keep on having ideas. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I get fascinated all the time with like some of my friends that I currently have are probably going to make it in this business. When I say this business, this business to me is podcasting. This is the business. This is one of the wrestling business. They're probably going to make it in the wrestling business. So cool. You know what I mean? I like having friends that are doing something. I'm really applauding that. And I'm not seeing it as any kind of competition because my voice is different. My style is different. My look is different. So it's like, we're not doing the same thing. Like, that's why, I mean, I encourage most people who I think fascinate me, which I mean, I was going to say something to you about it, but like, start your own podcast. You should have one. Like, it's way more like getting stuff off your chest. It's like therapeutic for me. And I feel like it would be real helpful to you because when we had our talk, like, never in my life was I having talks like this with people. Never in my life was I like pulling people aside and just like hearing their stories and seeing where they came from. I learned that bit of empathy through starting this. So if that kind of experience can happen for you, you're absolutely in no way are you competition to me. You know what I'm saying? Because like you had a background where this happened to you, that happened to, and I had a background where this happened and that happened. They're different kinds of things. We're different kinds of people. But when it comes to the things that we do love and the things that we do understand, we can be on the same page and still have a different, a way of dispensing that. So absolutely have a podcast. Absolutely start something new where you can open yourself up. You can become something other than what you already are. You know what I mean? I was saying for a long time in wrestling when even when I look back and like I've been getting tagged on Twitter and like ECWA stuff that I did.
Yeah.
Like, even in that period when I thought I was pretty good, I knew that I wasn't connecting with anybody. Like I knew that like the people in the back didn't know me that well. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That I didn't know them that well. Like I want to know everybody because that'll just inform who I'd rather become.
Yeah.
And like I was saying to you earlier, like how many people like ask you what your story is and then actually sit there and listen to it?
And that's actually another thing, like probably the biggest thing that drew me to you was that we were able to, like, you get in the practice of just, hey, what's up? Okay, hi, in the locker room, there's, I have a lot of friends, but like not many people do I know their background. Like I know more about you and we've only talked on probably 3 or 4 occasions,
Right.
And I know more about you than some of the people I see almost every weekend,
Right.
you know? And that's what made me really appreciate you, is that you took time to really sit down and get to know me, get to know why I'm the way you are, or what the way I am. And I, got to know, a lot about you and how you came up and everything that went on in your life. And we had a lot of similarities, in
Mm-hmm.
stuff that happened to us when we were growing up and stuff. And I was like, wow, that's something that I probably never would have really taken the initiative to find out about you if
Mm-hmm.
you hadn't sat down and really showed me interest in not just like talking, but getting to know me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, dude. I I don't really. I feel like everyone should like kind of stop thinking about themselves as much as they do.
Yeah.
To think about how other people feel might also make you change the way you feel about yourself.
Mhm.
Maybe like makes you more grateful for the things that you have. You know what I'm saying? Like if my life sucked and I was talking to you and you talked about your life sucking and like growing up for you sucked worse than it sucked for me, then I think my life sucked a little less. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I can count inside of that, like what the things that I'm the most grateful for,
Yeah.
because I like I always had prejudgments about things. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I like without saying it would always resent people who had both parents, like all the time. Or resent people who were like educated, like oh you think you're better than me. Like that was just the thing I always did. Like but like
Yeah.
talking
Almost
to
like
more
it
people.
becomes like a kind of like a competition in yourself.
Right.
Almost.
Right. Because people want to just like hear someone brag a little bit and then go, oh, I can brag. You want to brag, bro?
Look at me. Look at
Want
me.
to have a brag off? Go brag yourself.
Here's a list of what I've done.
Right. So I would like to give. I would love to just give somebody the opportunity to brag themselves out. Just go ahead, brag it out, dude. I mean, because like everybody wants to feel heard and seen and feeling worthy of someone listening to you and
Yeah.
and trying to like interact with you, maybe ask you some questions about the stuff that you got going on, like what brought you to that, and where are you now, that kind of stuff. And like I said this my one of my best friends, Aaron Gainey, he passed away a couple years ago, 3 years ago now. He, at his funeral, they opened up for people to do testimonials, right? And a lot of people did testimonials. Like, and I kept getting up, like, I'll go, I'll go. But so many people kept getting up and going. I was like, you know what? I got a mic in front of me every week. I can live a testimonial to him in speaking into a microphone every single week instead of speaking in this microphone at this place for just those people to hear and then never hear it again. You know what I mean? It's I
now
can have
that
this
moment kind of lives on.
Right. This stays on the record. This kind of stays on the record. So that being the case, it's like I'll let you get your shit in. Like, go ahead. Tell me get your shit in, dude. Like I'm okay with it because I get my shit in enough. I get my shit in enough here. Like I say enough things about me here that are already like braggy enough or like non-braggy enough, real personal, real gross thing. Like I say enough things about myself here. I've got this outlet.
Yeah.
I say enough gross things about me or like intimate things about me on my other podcast, Wrestle Rock. Or you know what I'm saying? But it's like I'd absolutely love to hear the fascinating story of what made you also damaged enough to give away your adult years. Give away your adult years to this carnival. Yes. So or honestly just tell me about all the cool stuff. I don't care. Like that's that's fine too. You want to talk to me about the opponents you've had and the matches you've been at, and like that, cool. Like the companies that you worked for, cool. If that makes you feel fine, like makes you feel heard and seen, yes, say them. I'll hear them. Like, speak the words. I'll watch you. That's fine. Because, like, I feel like they can learn more from just watching me hear them. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, pretty much, man.
Really.
And like for me, like as I said earlier, like wrestling's always been my coping mechanism, my go-to, and like my outlet for everything. Because, and we actually had this talk about addictions and stuff like that when I saw you last. Mm-hmm. And I know for myself that I have a very addictive personality. So mm-hmm. I don't drink, I don't smoke, and I don't use any type of recreational drug. If I can help it, I don't even take ibuprofen. You know, like
I'm pretty similar.
And I've watched people in my family growing up struggle with drugs, drinking, and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So I was like, well, that looks like it sucks a lot.
Yeah.
Let's not go there. You know. So I was like,
you go ahead and storm to the beach. That one's all you. You go ahead.
Yeah.
Like I'll let you have that experience. I'll stay over here having a different experience.
Yeah. I'll be over here watching Kurt Hennig and Nick Bockwinkel if you need me.
Dude, that match. Let's get into it. Let's get into
the first match I ever watched.
I love that match for this very reason. When Kurt Hennig sends him off and gives him the chop on the head.
Axe, yes.
When he gives him the axe right to the head, and then Bockwinkel sells down and he gigs, and there's a dude in the front row who saw it happen. I love watching that guy go, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, he had a blade and he cut himself. Like just like reading that guy's lips. He had something in his hand. Like you watch every little syllable come out. He had something in his hand and he rubbed it across his head and now he's bleeding. Like that is like such a specific thing. It's such a specific thing for you to mention that match and for me to have a story about that, like watching that match.
Like the other one, that they had at Super Clash was the one that I first watched. That is responsible for me wanting to be a professional wrestler. The one they had at Super Clash 2, it was 1988 in the Cow Palace for the AWA title. Mm-hmm. And my dad had noticed that I was starting to take a liking to wrestling. I was only young. I had to be six or seven. And, you know, I was taking a liking to wrestling. I would watch it, but kind of like pay attention to it more than other things, you know, because at 6 or 7, you're not really watching a 2-hour show.
I say this all the time, and it's going to sound like repetitive because I say it on here all the time. Like I was unaware of what day of the week it was or what time of the day it was. Like I didn't keep track of any of that. I didn't know how to tell time till I was like in high school. Like the object of time and like days of the week and all that is just, I didn't wear a watch. I didn't care.
Yeah.
I was too busy living. Living to worry about the time's a construct, man. It's a man-made. It's a man. Listen, bro. I don't need no time, bro. I don't need no watch. I just
live in the moment.
Yeah, dude. That's how I was until like I was like, oh man, I gotta watch Raw and Nitro, and they're both, you know, that. Yeah. I think pro wrestling is
in between.
What? So when it comes to me, then going back, let's circle it back around to me saying, oh, I hate how, you know, I love wrestling so much, but it doesn't love me back. It taught me how to tell time. You know what I mean? I cared about it so much. I had to worry about what time it was and what day of the week it was.
So you didn't
because
miss it,
I love. Yeah. So absolutely, I cannot say that wrestling owes me anything. Like, it's done its part for me. I would love to make a living in wrestling. Always have wanted that. I'm cool enough. I'm, you know what I mean? I'm marketable enough. I'm good enough as a wrestler for that to happen. Yeah. But if it doesn't happen, I know wrestling's given me enough. Like for like making me this person that I couldn't imagine being anybody else. And I would pay $10 to see me. God dang it.
I definitely would now, because I'm much better than I was in 2016. Nobody ever told me in 2016 that I kind of looked like, you know, when you open a can of biscuits and it kind of pops out a little bit. That's what my midsection looked like.
But you know what's funny about that? Like, in regular life, most people you see and talk to, they don't care at all. Yeah. Most people that you see aren't in good shape at all. Like, no. But then when you go to a wrestling show, you're like, man, all these dudes are like really jacked and in good shape and they got abs. I feel like shit about myself. Does that sound about the ballpark?
Pretty much, man. It's so funny how self-conscious like wrestlers are. Like, we're these on camera, we're these big macho masculine, you know, beat each other's brains in, and then behind the camera we're like, oh my god, I got love handles. Oh my god, that guy's got more muscles than I do. Oh, what about me?
Grey Wolf, you know Grey Wolf?
I love Grey Wolf.
He's my roommate.
He was on that show that we were talking to.
Oh yeah, okay. He's my roommate. We had the conversation. He told me to tell you. He told me to tell you what's up. He was walking. I don't know if you could hear people talking in the other room. He was in there. He was, but he went somewhere else. But he was telling me to say what's up to you. But
what's up, Grey Wolf?
When we sit around, we're like, dude, have you ever met anybody as in good shape as Grey Wolf?
No.
It's really rare that you're going to meet anyone who's in that good a shape.
That guy has muscles in places I don't have places.
But him and I will sit around and bitch to each other about like fat stuff and like pinching shit that's not there. It'll just be skin. Like, that's just what we do. Body dysmorphia.
We're such self-conscious animals, man. Like,
right.
Like, it's so funny. That red light turns on, we turn into fucking killers and like these big macho machismo guys. And then like that red light turns off, we're like, oh man, what? Oh no. Oh no.
I just revealed to him like about some insecurity I have. And I'm so insecure about it. If like there's pictures of me at a show and you can see that thing, then I just don't share the photo. I don't like it. I don't save it. And I'm like, I don't want anyone. That's such a minute thing that, of course, only I care about and nobody else does.
Nobody else cares as much as you do.
Right.
Nobody else. That's pretty much the theme of this whole entire conversation.
Yeah, exactly. That's the name of the episode.
That wrestlers are just fragile animals and no one cares as much as they do about themselves.
Right, exactly. I hate to lend to a stereotype, but I'm right there.
I'm guilty as well. Right, I think all of us are. And if you say you're not, you're a liar.
Right. But have you listened to any of the show? I forgot what you said when you answered. Did you answer that earlier?
You showed me some clips and stuff like that when we had talked about a year and a half ago. Because you were explaining that it wasn't really a wrestling podcast, and you know, you kind of talk about comedy and stuff like that. So you're like, here's like some excerpts of it and stuff like that. And you show me your YouTube and everything, or was it YouTube? Yeah, something like that. You show me clips on your phone and stuff like that. You know, stuff you covered and stuff like that.
Yeah, I hope that it's not a wrestling podcast has become pretty clear. Like, I'm not going to go, tell me about your favorite match. Who's your best opponent? Like, what do you got coming up?
It's like, we've talked about everything except for that. Like we've talked about like the inside working of like what goes into what we do, you know, what goes through our minds on a daily basis when it comes to character development and like fat cells.
Right. So it's kind of more of a podcast about like trying to grow as a person, honestly.
Yeah.
I hope that, I hope that I continue to do this for the rest of my life. And I hope anyone who listens to it maybe catches a sentence or two that like resonates with them. And then they go, oh, wow, cool. Like I didn't think of it that way. Maybe now I'll look at everything different.
Yeah.
So,
and this is honestly probably the most fun I've had on a podcast because everything's like, when did you start? What was your first match? Like copy, paste, repeat, copy, paste. Repeat,
right. Yeah. That's what I was telling you earlier. Like, I was just so sick of those. And what's funny is like most like this wasn't an option like Skype or whatever back when I used to do them all the time. It was just like over the phone or something. And I could tell that like while I was talking to them and answering their questions, they were like fiddly farting with other things. You know what I mean? Or like staying distracted. But I want to make sure that it's very known that I'm not trying to fiddly fart or diddly dally. And I'm really want to dive into the deep end on a lot of things.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, when was your first match?
Let me see.
No, you already said it. I'm just kidding. I was just being as cliche as possible. It's funny when people like, dude, I had stopped being a guest on people's podcasts for a while, and I actually don't mind it at all anymore. Like it used to be something that was like, all right, it's another thing about like asking me about gimmicks and asking me about my favorite matches I've ever had. Come on, stop. But like now what I have, like I've become such a more versatile like speaker. I can speak about anything that's not that. If the question goes there, I can maybe touch it for 1 second and then talk about anything else.
Hey, it's funny for me, like I almost like don't like the what's your favorite match or who's your favorite wrestler question, because everything in wrestling is so different from the last.
Right, yeah.
It's
an ever changing, ever evolving, like it's hard to say who my favorite is. I can tell you who my favorites are. Like that.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a spectrum. It's a big spectrum.
Yeah, because like different wrestlers and different entertainers hit different parts of us.
We're little pinball machines.
Pretty much.
Right.
And it's like, and it's such an emotional based performance.
Right.
Because we're triggering those emotions, whether it's getting someone to absolutely adore you or getting someone to hate you or even walking that gray line.
Don't discount the fact that you're also trying to not die. Everything hurts. So you're dealing with pain at the same time as you're trying to evoke emotions and have an artistic match.
And you know what? That's another thing that gets lost. And I used to get so mad when people are like, "Oh, that shit's fake." When they would ask the two things that I would hate when I would tell people I was a professional wrestler. One was, how much do you make? Which I feel is an absurd question to ask anyone.
Have you ever answered honestly about that? You're like, yeah, not much. Like, no. Dude, anybody who's ever asked me how much I make at a show, like, I'm like, you think I've been doing this for 19 years and still never got anywhere? If like I was making money, you think I'd still be working? You think I'd still be working at the call center? You think I wouldn't still be working at the warehouse? You think I still wouldn't be working as a bus driver? Like, of course I'm not making a lot. Like, and I would say to people in cover bands, they get more money.
Yeah.
Like it's more like doing open mic nights.
Yeah. And like with that question, like it's just such a rude thing. You don't walk up to a CEO of a company is like, "Hey man, how much do you make before taxes?" Like
it's very like presumptuous and prejudgmental. But that comes from, you have to put yourself in their shoes there for a minute. Like, I get that it's rude and I get that it sucks, but like, you might be the only wrestler they've ever met. Anybody who's ever thought this was something they wanted to do. Like, I had to put that back. That's what probably helped me with having better matches, was like understanding that a good amount of these people who are coming here to watch this already have never seen wrestling before and already have a preconceived notion that it's bullshit.
Yeah.
So I have to make sure my matches stay snug, everything looks good, and they come away from it with an experience that's outside of the experience that they already expected. So that changes the perspective when I go do comedy, because my jokes are like, oh, well, I know maybe some of these people never saw me do comedy before. Well, I'm going to change whatever they're thinking. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
it's a matter of like juggling others' expectations.
Yeah, and what's funny is like me and you have a similar outlook in that way. Is like I go into every match thinking that, one, there's somebody in the room that's never watched a wrestling show before. Mm-hmm. So we have to show them what it is. And two, there's a good amount of them already thinking what we do is fake. Mm-hmm. But my mindset is, if I can get them for a split second, if I can make them question reality for like, oh, was do those guys not like each other? Or what was something messed up? If they can question that for a second and we leave that doubt in their mind for the rest of the night, they're going to question what they're seeing, whether they want to believe it's bullshit or not.
This is something somebody had asked me about, like pride in wrestling. Some of my like proudest, like biggest accomplishments and like biggest crowds. It's like, honestly, don't wrestle in front of a lot of like big crowds. Haven't really since like the early 2000s. Wrestling isn't as big as it was, but it kind of is bigger in some ways. It's a weird middle ground that we're kind of living in a limbo period. But it's better than it was, but not as good as it was before. Like, it's cyclical, right?
Yeah.
So one of my proudest moments as an in-ring performer was in front of 4 people. I mean, that's probably an embellishment. I don't know how many people. It was not a lot of people, but I know it was an outside show in Dover, and it started raining.
It's 20 minutes from where I'm at. Or wait, Dover, Delaware, or Dover, New Jersey?
Dover, Delaware.
Oh, never mind. That is not 20 minutes from where
it started raining as we were out there.
Yeah.
And the few people that there was started going inside or like leaving completely because they were getting all wet. But we were snug with each other, me and the guy that we were in the match with. And a group of people all gathered near each other under an umbrella, and they were like, damn, them motherfuckers hitting each other for real. That was the proudest moment of my career.
Yes.
Damn, those motherfuckers hitting each other for real. So it's like, yes, that is a prouder moment than any title I ever won, because like, I don't know if the cat's out of the bag. When you win a title, you didn't win anything. It's not a win or lose. What? It's not a competition. It's a show.
You're dropping bombshells on me, Corey.
Sorry.
Oh man.
Like I've never won a match. Like I've gotten 3 counts on people. I've had titles, like I've had many titles, but it's like none of those are things I actually won.
Yeah,
it was like
it's not like UFC or anything, and like that's another thing that's like I'm so sick of hearing like, oh, but like you guys aren't like the UFC. Okay, no one ever said we were like the UFC. To like compare the UFC to WWE is like comparing this remote and this bolt. They're both material, but they're not the same.
Right.
They don't even have the same purposes. Like they're serving 2 different communities. Like it's like I don't get why people have to draw that line of like, oh, but you guys aren't really hurting someone. Yeah, but the Game of Thrones was fake too, and you guys cried over the finale of that.
That's a very, very broad brush to paint with.
Yeah.
Saying that word fake implies that nothing hurts when it all hurts. Everything hurts.
I actually have the perfect answer for that. When people are like, don't you know it's all fake? I tell them, if it was fake, I wouldn't have holes in my smile.
Right. It's everything hurts. Like I'd be able to breathe better. My nose has been broken so many times. Right.
Yeah.
I wouldn't. It's all like, by saying it's fake, or like ruling it out by saying like, oh, it's all predetermined, or however they word it as to dismiss it. It's like, but the art of it is, it hurts, but I'm not out. You know what I mean? I'm not injured. I'm not beyond hurt. It's like did you know Z-Bar?
I don't think I ever
Tom
met
Hirschman. He was a CZW guy. He just passed away, but he had a tattoo on his arm that said "Pay in Pain," and that's kind of like the theme of us. We're sacrificing that, and not only are we sacrificing that, but we're sacrificing our, like, not just like our health and lives. I mean, of course, it's like dangerous and people have died in it, but that wasn't where I was going with it. I was saying like if somebody goes, oh, you want to come to my wedding? Well, I got a show that day. How many weddings, how many parties, how many birthdays, how many holidays, how many like family members who aren't as close with me because like I wasn't there. Like,
yeah, I actually have had, friends and family stop inviting me to stuff because they knew, not out of, being mad, but they knew that I was always on the road. Like when things were open, I was traveling sometimes Thursday to Sunday and working a full-time job with security. Right. So it was like, I've missed weddings, birthdays, Christmas, Easter, funerals.
So when you have that be the thing, that's everything you are. And then someone says that's fake. They're not saying just that it's fake. They're saying you're fake. Your effort's fake. Your sacrifice isn't worth it. Right. You're giving your entire life to it. Of course, it's not paying me enough. But here's what it's doing. It's giving me structure. It's helping me. It's helping me connect with people. It's helping me fill this void that I've got. And it's the weirdest thing, dude. I love doing stand-up comedy. I love it. It's my favorite. It's like one of my favorite things. I love acting. I really do. Like, these are things I'm pretty good at. I think I'm good at them. Pro wrestling, I know I am. Like, that's the difference. Like, this is the language I learned, instead of learning another language or learning a trade, the trade I learned was this. This is what I know. And it's not very valuable as far as physically out in the real world, but when it comes to like maybe doing stunts or something, but like, I'm talking about like for, working at a call center or something. But when it comes to like how to talk to people, like that might help me. You know what I mean? Yeah. That might help. That might help my joke writing. That might help. So everything I'm doing, hopefully, ideally, is serving the next thing. And I say this a lot. So if you listen to the show and you've heard me say that before, go ahead and press us fast forward 15 seconds. But if not, prepare. So the podcast, if people hear me on the show and they go, oh, I'm going to check out that wrestling, right? People see me at wrestling and they go, oh, I'm going to check out, see if this guy's got any podcasts that he's been on that are cool. Oh, he's got his own podcast? Great. So they discover me from wrestling, it comes back to the podcast. Comedy, it comes back to the podcast. Acting comes back to the podcast. Touring goes back to the like everything I want to do will come back to like the message of it all. The message of it being ultimately bigger than what I am as a wrestler or as a comedian. Or it's who I am as a person. And that's more valuable. I know it is in my heart. You know what I mean? It's not something I like. I think there's value to it. Like that. I hopefully I'm building a voice for myself through this and through all those things. So hopefully, the reason I'm calling it Evolving with Corey Castle isn't just because I'm on it. Like, you're evolving with me. If someone's listening to the show, they're listening to me evolve. And hopefully that's making them better too. That's that's what I ultimately want to do. And I want to do that for as many people as I can for as long as I can. And I'm going to keep on having each one of those things lend to the other thing so that it can lend to other people.
Yeah.
But it's not as lending. It's kind of a giving. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I do sometimes when I do comedy, I go, all right, I'm going to say this thing and I hope it stays with you for the rest of the night. Hopefully longer than that. But here's a lesson to take away. Here's I hope you think about this every time this happens. Every time a thing like this happens, I hope you think about this bit from me right now, Corey Castle. Check out my podcast. I will, I've learned to be a salesman. You know what I mean? So I have to.
Yeah.
And the product is me. The product is the value that I think I have in how important my words might be. Why does anybody start a podcast unless they think their voice and their opinion is important enough for others to hear?
Yeah, pretty much. It's that look at me hole again.
Yes. Yeah. Dude, honestly, for the longest time, I was having a hard time getting female guests. And every male who I was talking to about coming on the podcast, and this isn't about this isn't about the duality. Like I get more. It just seems like men are more they feel more entitled to being heard, and women are like, I'll let you talk, whatever. You know what I mean? I don't think as many women really. I don't. This is generalization, and I don't mean it to be that way, but it seems like I'm hopefully evening it out a little bit more.
Yeah.
And I for sure want to have non-binary. I want to have some trans like that. This all things eventually I want to do. I had Sonny on last September.
Yeah, he's one of my best friends. Him, Kenny Bengal, the Graysons. We all started together. Ali Rex, Mike Orlando, and those guys. I really am lucky that I found those guys because they push everyone to be better around them. There's no ego. If they see you slipping, getting lazy, or you did something in the ring, it looked like shit, or you're kind of you're slacking in the gym, you're getting a little doughy in the middle, they'll tell you, but it's not out of a place of hurt. It's out of a place that, hey, I want you to be better, Yeah. So, and Sonny Kiss and Kenny Bengal are my two best friends, not just in wrestling, in life.
Okay. I don't think I know Kenny Bengal, but what's up, Kenny? How's it going? I don't know.
we all started, us three, we all started within the same year.
Okay.
At East Coast Pro Wrestling.
Okay.
And it's funny because at first I thought Kenny hated me, but he's just very
Gino
Caruso.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And he's a very misunderstood fellow as well.
Yeah, I mean, dude, how
he gets.
How many people do you know that are all the way understood, right from the bat?
He gets a lot of hate on the local indies because of how he does some things. But the way I look at it, if it wasn't for Gino Caruso, I wouldn't have gotten a chance to be Aaron Bradley. I wouldn't have gotten a chance.
Gino is misunderstood. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were trying to say that the Kenny was misunderstood.
Oh no, he gets misunderstood too, but mainly because he has the male form of resting bitch face, and his jokes are very dry. But once you get to know him and you realize how funny they actually are, like,
dude, like deadpan, and like actually like super stern, serious, like dad jokes coming out of a zero smile. Those are the best. I love it. I pepper them into my stand up because I just have to. I just have to because it's like I want to make sure I get as much laughs in like a short period of time as possible. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if I do one like premise that's a long thing, between doing that, I'll throw in a throwaway one-liner dad joke, pun of some sort, and then go into like a more deep premise. It's just like heat. It's just like heat. False hope. Yeah, all that. It's the same. It's the same like up and down. It's
roller coaster.
It's the manipulate emotions through making sure it seems like a spontaneous thing. Like with acting, like you hate watching something where someone's acting and they're acting and like you can tell they're saying lines that they weren't thinking. Like acting is a spontaneous conversation. Like it has to seem like it's actually coming out of you.
Yeah,
like it's actually things really you're gonna say.
Put yourself in that role. Put yourself in. Okay, if you're playing this character, how would this character feel in this moment? You know, because anybody can read a script. Anybody can read a line and recite it and remember it and recite it. Mm-hmm. But to remove yourself from your inner being and completely take over this extra person and become that person, that's a crazy skill.
So I was saying, like, wrestling has made me a better actor, so I can read scripts better. Like I can do lines, I could say things better. Like help me like really get inside of what emotions I'm supposed to tap into, or like for joke writing, like what's gonna pop, what's gonna build, what's gonna lose them. You know what I mean? Like cutting the fat when I come to like open mic and something doesn't go over very well, then I'm gonna change the way I say it, or I'm gonna cut it out completely. So it's kind of like that with moves in wrestling, or with segments, with spots, with sequences, I guess you could say. Yeah. Like the arrangement. And not a lot of people can really understand when I talk like that, but I know you'd get it because you're kind of in both. You're in both worlds with it with me, you know. So what I dig about this show is that everything's like on the record, honestly. Like, and this is another thing I said on here a million times. When I first started it, my mom was telling me, like, this is like right before I started the podcast. My mom was telling me that she had taken voicemails that were left on her phone from her best friend who passed away and from her mom, and she saved them onto a CD. She said, "You know how like when someone dies and you kind of forget what their voice sounds like?" Yeah. And I was like, "Yeah, I don't want that. I don't want that at all. I want for like when I pass away to have like left some sort of recording that maybe can help you grieve a little more or like learn some lessons." So I was like, I don't want that. That's one of the reasons I wanted to have the podcast. But then I also wanted to have the podcast so that when I could have guests on who fascinated me in some way, who inspired me in some way, who really intrigued me to want to like kind of get to know them a little bit more, I could have these conversations with them and say, like, dude, I treasure you, dude. I barely know you, but I'm glad we're friends. And I hope this is just the start.
I appreciate that, man.
And that's on the record. That's on the record. That's outliving us. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. It's true, man. And like, as I said earlier, like we've only talked 3 or 4, maybe 5 times now. Mm-hmm. And I know more about you because you took the time to sit down and like, there's a show going on. Yet we kind of got lost in our own little bubble talking about our paths to get to where we were, what led us to this tax money show.
Oh man.
Tax
Yeah.
money mania.
It's weird, man. I get into saying all the time about like people who want to run shows are like really only doing it because they just love wrestling so much and they aren't gonna make any money. They're gonna lose what they got. It's like it's just such a passion for people, and I wish that was more broadly understood how much of a passion this is and like why it matters. And it's something that I have to be proud of my people. You know what I mean? And I say my people, these wrestling people, wrestling fans, people who are in it. Of course, there are just as much fans who are in the business than fans of the business.
Yeah.
Like, so I make the joke all the time. It's like when I say The Rock was ours first. We let the rest of you have him.
Yeah.
Like as us wrestling fans, we knew how great he was. We let you guys have him. We were like, yeah, go ahead.
This guy's a national treasure. You're about to find out.
Right. You'll find out how awesome he is. We've known this whole time.
And then the Tooth Fairy came out. We're like, no, trust me, he's good. Just
he needed that. I mean, look, same with Batista. You know, he had another movie just like it's like when I'm watching that, it's watching the progression.
Yeah,
it's like, well, you got to have that family friendly movie. You got to have that. You got to have that tear jerker. You got to have that serious role. You got to have that action. You got to have that kick ass, and got to have that funny. Like he did Stuber. Like that was good. That was like I'm talking about Batista. It's like it's just showing range because everything lends to something else. And we already had the manipulating thoughts and feelings and emotions through our training. It's like deep inside our marrow. It's like the like unspoken like paragon inside of you, you know?
Yeah. And like this, like wrestling's like helped them get to that point, like to understand how to become a role. You know, it's crazy that like something that's classified as fake has helped other people get more success in other real entertainments.
Oh yeah, dude. John Cena is becoming like The Rock all over again.
Yeah.
Good. That's great. You know, that gets more eyes on the business maybe and say, who's going to be the next one that does it? Who's going to be the next one who does it? Who's going to be the next guys on a small scale indie level that like make it and do something?
Yeah.
Like how close were you with Gacy?
I've been on a bunch of shows with him.
But like now he's the dude. Everybody's talking about this dude. You know what I mean? As far as in ring and wrestling, I'm saying.
He's one of those guys that I always wanted to work with, but like never was given the opportunity to. But like, other than like being on shows with him and talking to him very briefly, like I don't know him too well, but I'm glad to see his hard work pay off because that dude worked harder than a lot of people in the locker room.
Yeah. Him and I have had the same kind of conversations you and I had in the locker room where it's just like, we're just seeing where this goes. Because for sure, listen as much as you speak, because you might learn something you didn't know.
Yeah.
Like just shut up for a minute. It's so funny. It's another thing I say a lot, but I think it's worth applying. And if I could say these things enough times that they like beat into somebody's head and they actually apply them, that's awesome. That's so good.
Yeah.
But it's like, it's like, shit, where was I going? I forgot.
You lost yourself again.
Yeah, but it's like really, I don't think there's any harm in like learning something big about somebody and like making friends with somebody who like makes something of themselves. Like, and like, especially that person is less likely to like big time you, which I mean, I have a lot of friends who've made it who don't talk to me anymore. But
it's so shitty how that happens. Like,
right. But I have a couple of friends who are doing something, who are still my friends, you know. But there are people in wrestling who kind of make it and then just won't answer your calls or your text messages or your Facebook messages. And that sucks. They leave you on red.
Yeah. Yep. I know exactly what you're talking about, man.
Yeah. But yeah, so like when I have any conversations with people and I have them on the podcast, my podcast isn't that big of a deal yet. You know what I mean? So the consequences are really low because the audience isn't very big or broad. So it goes like, well, I'm going to be as sincere with you as I'd like you to be with me, and it'll be on the record. And then you make it, you get somewhere, and then you're the person who continues to speak with me. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, I like having friends who are real friends, not friends who are like, and I even said this to Tremont when he started trying to run shows. I was like, you ready for people to, hey, buddy, you to death?
Yep. And like, I talk to Sonny about that all the time because with him and All Elite Wrestling now, there's people that 2 years ago wouldn't have given him the time of day that are like, hey, how do I get a job now?
Right. Yeah. You're valuable to them only because you're useful for you to answer that question that makes them think that they can do what you do better than you can do it. Like in The Departed, who do you think thinks they can do your job better than you? That's anybody. That's anybody who sees you and compares themselves to you and goes, all right, I'm better than them. Yeah. Oh, like that's not up to you. You're supposed to be humble.
Yeah.
It's not up to you. I don't go around making declarations that I'm funny. I don't make declarations that I'm attractive or cool or like have a good body. That's all stuff for other folks to say. You know what I mean? And then I can not take a compliment because I hate myself. and then it's a way to be validated. You know what I mean? It's a way to sort of fill this hole. This like, oh man, I got cast in a thing and I'm high as high can be as far as confidence wise. And then and then I'll be like, well, my card just got declined. And then, well,
it's so funny because like I've been there I've been there to a point where it's like, man, I just had this really awesome match, blah, blah, blah. We had it going and blah, blah, blah. And then you go to Quick Check to get a coffee for the road. It's like, and then the automated thing starts yelling, your card's declined. Like, shh, I don't need everyone knowing I'm broke.
I had this bit I was trying to do. I went to this New Year's Eve party at this bar, and it was like $40 for all you could drink for the whole night. So I went to the ATM machine at the bar and I took $40 out. Happened to be that was the only $40 that I had.
Oh no.
So I got a receipt and I stuck the receipt in my back pocket with my wallet. And then I started drinking and I got up from wherever I was and my receipt must have fell out when I was sitting down. And I came back from getting a drink and this girl had a receipt in her hand. And I was like, oh shit, that's my receipt, isn't it? Like, and she was like, I don't know what this is, but whoever this is, they is broke as fuck. And I was like, oh yeah, let me see that. Loser. What a loser this guy is. Whoever this person is who's clearly not me. Man. I got my shit all together.
Yeah, I'm a big star.
That's it's like just I just want to stop comparing, you know what I mean? Yeah. I want to stop living a comparative life all the time. Like just because somebody's happy doesn't mean they're more happy than you. It just means that they're happy when you see they're happy. And I think social media has maybe changed that on a lot of people too, because people put their best self up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
People show you what they want you to see, not everything.
Yeah.
And like when you're going through hard times, you're not alone. Everybody goes through some hard times sometimes. That's why like another thing I want to make sure I say to you on the record, if you ever feel like you need a friend, you need somebody to talk to, some judgment-free conversation, I hope you already know inside of you that I'll be that for you. I hope I could be any resource for you if you decide to start your own podcast.
I appreciate that, man, like a lot.
Good. I appreciate you a lot, man. I do. So there's a thing I always do on here. Or I always say, I have this segment that I'm calling audio time travel, right? So I've already told you this audio is outliving us.
Yeah.
This interview, this video, who knows, who knows if we'll be able to listen back to it or not, right? But if that's being the case, let's say that somebody who loves you and cares about you, like 10 years from now, wants to see what 2020 Alex is, like this exact timestamp in the weirdest time in the world, the weirdest time to be an American, the weirdest like Corona weird, like not even that, just the fact that the world is in such disarray.
Yeah.
And the things that inspire you, the lessons that you've learned that have kind of made you who you are, that have made you go, okay, hypothetically, you're doing this audio time travel. You're speaking to this person. You're speaking to whoever loves you, whether it's your kids, whether it's your mom, whether it's somebody who's listening to this to go like, what is the major Aaron Bradley, Alex, like you just speak to that person right now.
I think that the biggest thing I can say is like for myself, I get so caught up in trying to make the most of every situation. I just forget to enjoy the situation. Just take time and breathe and really, be thankful for what you have around you, because I think a lot of us, we took shows for granted and like we were doing it so much, 3, 4, 5 shows a week to a point where now we're not doing any shows. And it like this whole quarantine thing, it took a toll on me mentally because 2 of my outlets were wrestling and working out at a gym, and that was taken from me. So really just appreciate what you have in front of you. You might not be where you want to be right now, but if you keep grinding, you'll be there. You'll get to what you want. There's nothing that can stop you except for you.
2 more things. I'll send you on your way. Hot dog and a handshake, and you get out of here. So I always say this, and I think it's really cool. And this kind of goes back to where I said to you that I hope this is just the beginning. You know what I mean? I hope this is just the start of where we go as friends. And I'm optimistic. I think this is a real cool relationship that we're building. But I would say the things that you want, sometimes they don't exist yet.
Yeah.
Like when I was a kid, I wanted to be a stand-up comedian and I wanted to be a wrestler. I didn't know I wanted to be a podcaster. That didn't exist yet. Sometimes you don't know exactly what you want until what you want is looking you right in the face because it didn't exist yet. So be easier on yourself.
Yeah.
Stop beating yourself up for not being somewhere in your life because the somewhere that you've got to be maybe doesn't exist yet. Like maybe
that a lot.
maybe your love of your life isn't alive yet. That it's weird, but have some grace with yourself.
Yeah.
I want to make sure I got that point across to you. Now,
I appreciate that.
This is the way I wrap it up every time. The way we wrap it up every time.
Okay.
Hypothetically, I've gifted you this podcast. Okay. So from now on, it's not evolving with Corey Castle anymore. It's evolving with Alex. Right. So
yeah,
this has been your first episode. This has been the pilot episode of your new podcast. In a very Jerry Springer's final thought type of way, how do you like wrap up the takeaways and have people like understand the life lessons that you've evolved through?
I think like the running theme is in this whole conversation was not to beat yourself up. No one's going to care as much as you do about something. And if you just overthink things, it's going to drive yourself insane. You know, remember to just live in the moment and to breathe, you know, enjoy what you have in front of you, because life is a gift. It really is, you know. And if you're too worried about what other people have or what other people are doing, you're not going to enjoy the gift you were given on that day.
Is that it?
Pretty much, yeah.
All right. I lied. I'm gonna say one more thing. I'm gonna give you the opportunity while we're on the record, and I said the stuff that I've already said. Is there anything that you want to ask me at all? Anything that you need to know or want to say to me? Then this is your chance. And then hot dog and handshake, and you can roll.
I think we've covered like everything, you know, like I'm excited to do this again in the future and see where both of us have evolved from this point on, you know, especially once we survive this monster that is 2020, you know.
Yeah.
We covered such a vast array of things, and I always love talking to you because it's not just small talk.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Right.
we go into details on, you know, what made me the character, or what made you the character you are, and stuff like that. There's so much layers to the conversations we have, and I don't have that with a lot of people because, one, I know that I have trouble opening up to people. So if I see that I have your full attention, that means a lot to me, and I appreciate the time you've given me to, you know, a year and a half ago, the time you gave me, what we spoke for like probably 45, 50 minutes, you know, just getting to know each other, and the time we've now accrued on this podcast, which is about an hour and 40 minutes. Like,
Right.
I really do appreciate getting to know you as a person. I really want to do this in the future and see where we've evolved, and, you know, where our different lives, you know, our different paths in life have taken us, you know, with your acting and your comedic, you know, stand-up comedy and stuff like that, and wherever I choose to go from here, you know. Hopefully the world opens up and we can, you know, start knocking those doors down of opportunity in our respective career paths.
I hope so. I really do. And I'm a fan, dude. I love what you do.
Thank you
I
so
keep
much.
telling you every time I'm talking to you about it, I'm like, I just want to keep seeing you doing this, because you're gonna get better every time, dude.
Thank you.
Like, experience is the best teacher. Experience is the best teacher. So you're just gonna get more experience. You're gonna get better at it, and I'm here for it. I think it's gonna be great.
I appreciate that so much, man. And I'm here for you too as well. And like, same offer goes to you, as you said before. Like, if you ever need anyone to talk to, you know, you got my personal number, you got my Facebook and everything, Twitter. Hit me up. I'm always there if you need someone to talk to, or even just to kind of like, you know.
Yeah, dude. I got weirded out by seeing your promo. I saw a promo that you did with your hair all crazy, and then I was like, who's this dude? This is Aaron. What is this? And then I followed you because I knew it was you. And then I texted you right after that. I was like, I guess I got to change your name now.
Yeah. So, like, I'm starting to really find myself in the promo realm, and really just let loose and not be afraid of what people are going to think if I have to show that little bit of anger or aggression. It's almost therapeutic in a way.
Well, I want to tell you that I appreciate you. I appreciate you spending this time with me. I think I said it earlier in the thing, but the most valuable currency is effort. Anybody who comes across this, they had to listen, or they had to go out of their way to find the place where this was, unless they had already subscribed, which I encourage you to do. Go on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you find podcasts, and go ahead and subscribe. If this is your first time checking out the show, I mean, there's 198 other episodes. You can check them out. They're on my YouTube now. I'll put the YouTube link inside of the description. Any of your social media, Alex, I'll put right in the description. Anything else Twitter, that you want to like put over or whatever? I mean, you can't announce shows and expect the podcast audience to hear them because the show
will already be passed.
Yeah.
So you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram, real_Alex Reiman, Reiman, and then Alex Reiman on Facebook. And also this sick tee right here is available on my prowrestlingtees.com page, /American Murder Society. So that's where you can find our t-shirt designs. We're going to have a Halloween design up shortly too, as well.
That's great, man. Best of luck with everything. Thanks so much for your time. Thanks so much for your effort. And I hope that you stay safe. And like I say, always be fun, have safe, and keep evolving, dude.
Yes, you too. Absolutely. I can't wait to do this in the future and see where we've gone from this point.
Yes, me too. Keep evolving.